Welcome to Just Mitchin. I'm Mitch Mitchie. I've got Abe and a very, very, very special guest, Blake Jameson. Blake, how you doing today?
Doing awesome.
Awesome. That's sweet. Abe, how you doing?
Great. I'm super excited, super stoked for this. So,
Me, me too, man. I've been ready for it all day. So we're just gonna jump right into the questions. So you went to UC Davis and you got a digital marketing degree. What made you make the leap in 2015 to become an artist? Like you had your nice corporate job and you just jumped for it.
Yeah. So I had to swap it out. So I studied economics at UC Davis,
Okay.
and it's interesting because when I went to college, oh yeah, you want to do a little B-roll? When I went to college, my parents were actually encouraging me to study art, and I know that that's like the reverse of what happens oftentimes. Sorry, Tony's phone's going off. I know that's the reverse of like the typical story where like maybe the kid wants to study art and then the parents are like, oh, that's not like a real job. It was kind of the reverse for me, where I grew up in a very creative household. I always loved making stuff, whether it was painting or collage or photography or anything like that. And so when I went to college, my parents were like, man, you should study art. And if you don't want to study art, you could do art history, you could minor in art. And I was really kind of resisting that because basically society kind of convinced me that art wasn't a viable career path. And so I thought by doing something like economics, which is very broad, I was going to do something in business, which is very broad. I just thought that it was something that was more like professional and would give me more professional opportunities. And so the digital marketing part came in after I graduated. I got a job at Zynga, which is a gaming company. And I was doing digital marketing for them because that's when social media was really taking off. You know, Facebook was starting to become mainstream, but still kind of like, you know, most brands were not advertising there. Twitter was, you know, in its infancy in the grand scheme of things. And those were like the only platforms, you know, besides that, there was like the MySpace and Friendster, but those were more like, I don't know, not necessarily professional.
yeah.
So I got into digital marketing at a really good time where the industry was taking off and there was really no industry standard. There was no degree you could get. There was no qualifications you could take. There was no test for like a license. It was just like, or a certification. It was just figuring it out as we go. And so fortunately, Zynga gave me a lot of freedom and flexibility to just, they're like, hey, I think we should be on Twitter. Figure that out. And I'm like, okay, cool. And same thing with like YouTube. Like I was running their YouTube channel for a while and creating video content and, you know, tweeting for them. And that went really well. And then I kind of leveraged that first digital marketing break that I got into other opportunities. So I started freelancing. Instead of just working for one company, I was working for like 4 or 5 companies at one time, doing consulting, sometimes executing the plan for them, sometimes maybe teaching their intern or teaching their staff, like, okay, here's what you want to do on Twitter. Here's what you want to do on Facebook. Here's how to run Facebook ads. But like I said, it was like a new frontier where like nobody really knew how to do it. So the fact that I even had like a little bit of experience within a company, Zynga, that was like really taking off, it was a rocket ship back then. Like for context, I joined Zynga, I was employee number 200. I was there for 8 months. And by the time I left, there were 2,000 employees.
Oh, whoa.
It was crazy growth.
Right at the start.
So I really was able to leverage that. And so I ended up having almost a decade-long career in digital marketing that was, you know, moderately successful. I had a good salary. At the end of it, I ended up, when I was freelancing, one of my clients was acquired by a big national billion-dollar brand. They moved me to Phoenix, Arizona. And so I had this, like, my thinking is like, okay, this is a huge account that I've never tackled something this big and having this much reach. And it was awesome. I worked there for 2 years. I loved the team. I loved a lot of parts about it, but it kind of got to the point where, like I said, I've been in the business of digital marketing for about a decade, and it just felt like it wasn't creatively stimulating for me anymore, and it wasn't challenging, and it was just like, I was clocking in, it was a cubicle. You know, I looked forward to Fridays and I dreaded Mondays.
So how much, I'm interested in knowing like how much of that decision making process for you to like go from a very corporate controlled world where they put you in a box to like, you know, breaking out of that, how much of that was calculated and like you planned it out, whereas, you know, how much of it was just like winging it? Like, all right, you just woke up one day and you're like, all right, let's do it.
Almost none of it was planned.
I told
So
you.
I woke up. You said I told you. Yeah. So I woke up on my 30th birthday, and that's when I decided. I was like, you know what? You only get one shot at this, at least for now. I don't know. Who knows? But I'm thinking I only get one shot at this life, and I might as well like make the most of it. Where like every day feels like a weekend, and I'm doing something that I'm like excited about every morning. And for a long time, digital marketing did give me that like kind of buzz, but it just didn't anymore. After doing it for so long, selling so many products that I were like thought were mediocre, or promoting companies that I'm like, I'm just doing this for a paycheck. It's just not the way that I wanted to live my life. And so I quit the job. On my 30th birthday, I decided that I was going to quit. And that was actually, I believe it was on a Saturday. So then I went in Monday. I had my resignation letter ready. I was very close. And it was also weird because, so when I moved to Phoenix, Arizona, I actually bought a house, and my boss was my tenant. So, and he's one of my best friends. He's my mentor. And so, I gave him a heads up over the weekend. He was my direct boss. And then kind of the CEO boss over that was his boss. And he's like, okay, well, I wish I want you to do whatever you want. He didn't try to convince me to stay at all. He's like, follow your dreams. He knew me and like knew where I was at in my headspace. And he's like, go for it. So I had to go in and meet with like the CEO of, the company and be like, yo, I got to talk to you. I'm really sorry. I can't do this anymore. I've got to do something else that really like feeds my soul. And, I want to do it as soon as possible, but I also don't want to put you guys in a bad spot. And so that business was actually very seasonal, where like all of their business was during the summer. It was a swimming pool company. So they did like swimming pool supplies. And so I didn't want to leave them like hanging on, kind of screwed. And so I basically told them like, I'm going to lead you through like the rest of our like good season. And then I'm going to bow out. So I did that. And at the time, I didn't know that I was going to go paint I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew that I had to find something else that like made me happy. And so quit, like I ended up staying, it was like about 2 months more that I stayed, and then I left, and kind of on like a self-discovery trip. I planned a trip to Barcelona, Spain for 5 weeks. I'd never been to Europe. I didn't know anybody there. I do speak Spanish, but not that bueno. And it was awesome because I had like, the only thing I had was a backpack and a plane ticket, and my very first night in Spain, I had like my hostel booked.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, I'm just gonna show up, check into the hostel, and see what's good. And that's what happened. Like I went to Barcelona, and I was just like, again, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to figure it out. And so in hostels and all over Barcelona, there's a lot of like walking tours where they'll take you, like, it's free. It's like a little guided tour where a local will take hostel guests or any tourists, like walking guests. It give you like an architecture tour where you're seeing like the Gaudi architecture. And there was one of them that was street art and graffiti of Barcelona, which Barcelona has a very rich history and kind of culture behind their graffiti and street art scene. And so I took that, and I like absolutely loved it. And it like reminded me, like it clicked. I was like, holy crap, like 9 years ago, before I was doing this corporate digital marketing thing, like I used to love to paint. And, this is awesome. And I love seeing all the art and hearing the stories behind it and kind of the dynamics and almost like politics of it. And it just like inspired me. And then I got back to my hostel that night after the tour, and I look across the street, and there's literally like a paint store that sells painting supplies. I'm like, all right, this is a sign. And so I went out and I went to the paint store. I bought a couple cans of paint, a couple different like, different supplies. And I was like on my computer, or I didn't even bring a computer. I was on my iPad on YouTube, like looking up like graffiti art tutorial, like that kind of stuff. And so I just was like super into it. And so I started just like cutting out stencils, because in Barcelona now, just like in a lot of parts in the US, like graffiti is not necessarily legal. So you got to be kind of in and out quick. And so the way that a lot of artists do it is they will cut like a stencil, which is basically a cutout of wherever you want the paint to go. You're cutting out that part of it was poster board at the time, but it could be paper, it could be anything. And so I was like cutting stencils, And the idea is like you could spend 2 hours cutting this like intricate, beautiful stencil, and then you could go out, you could slap it on a wall, spray paint over it, and then you could run away, and you'd be like done in like 15 seconds.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
And so that medium, like that's also like what Banksy does, right? You see a lot of Banksy's work, that's stencil work. And that dude's still anonymous after all these years.
No one knows who he is.
Because he's like in and out. And
Right.
you can still make really intricate art with, as long as you put the time into like making the dope stencil. So I made these stencils and I started going out in Barcelona. Like, I'd go out. Barcelona's crazy, man. Everyone sleeps in, gets up, eats, goes back to bed, gets up, like eats dinner at like 10 p.m. And they'll like they'll go out to the clubs at like 1 or 2 a.m. Like they'll start at the clubs. Like the clubs don't close till 6.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa.
And so like I'd go out and I'd get some dinner, and I was making some friends with some locals. I actually met some other Americans that were in Barcelona that I hit it off with. And I go out to the clubs for like a little bit. And then like, come like 3 a.m, I'd be like, all right, guys, I got to dip. And they're like, oh, why so early? I'm like, I got shit to do. And so then I'd go back to my hostel and I'd get my stencils. And then I'd just like go out because I'd have like spots kind of mapped out that I wanted to hit. And I was thinking like, all right, well, this graffiti and street art tour that I took was super dope. And this chick knows everything. The guide knew everything about the graffiti in the area. I was like, I'm just going to hit all the spots that she stops at because those are all the famous spots. And so I'd go to those spots and I'd find like a little tiny piece. Like I didn't want to paint over anyone else's stuff. I didn't want to be disrespectful, but I wanted to get up there. And so I did like a couple cool stencils. And then it was fun because like I went back on the graffiti and street art walking tour like a couple days later or like a week later. And then she was like walking through and she'd be like, ooh, well, this is a new piece. We don't know who this is from, but he goes by the name of Stoke. And we're going to see if we see any more of his work. And then we like go to the next spot and she's like, interesting. Stoke also hit this spot. And we see this like Rihanna stencil. And then like, it was so funny. And like, I'm so bad at keeping secrets. So like we come to the end of that second tour and I'm like, hey, I'm Stoke. And she's like, no shit, that's fucking awesome. And so like because she's super tapped into like the street art world, she's like, oh, I'm going to introduce you to this artist and this artist and this. So like she put me in contact with other like local Barcelona artists. And then they started taking me out and showing me other spots and introducing me to their friends. And like when you're in a spot like Barcelona, I'm a kid from California, hadn't done that much outside of California. It's really cool to be from California in Barcelona because they're like, oh, that's like the dream. Like I would love to go there. So like it was so well received that like, that's the toughest thing about starting something is like whenever you start anything, you're going to suck at it. I sucked at it, but I think that like I was just nice enough and good enough and from California that everyone's like, that's awesome. You should keep doing that. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I get back to the US and I'm like, all right, well, I think I found what I'm going to do. I'm going to start painting full time. Sorry, that was
that was perfect because going
thing, but that's it.
No, that's perfect because going into like first Twitter questions coming from Casey Ward, he wanted to know what were some of your experience like in Barcelona and have you done any street art in the US?
Great question. So the experiences in Barcelona we kind of covered. It was fucking awesome.
Right.
I've been dying to get back to Barcelona. It's crazy. There was I think the coolest thing that happened was there's this fountain in the Born district of Barcelona. It's like very nice area. And it's like it's this public fountain where there are literally like 3 little taps of water so that like for I don't know, hundreds of years, people have been coming there like before there was running water in people's houses. They would come here and they could use one of the taps, they could fill up their jugs, they could take it home. So it's a famous little fountain. And the city of Barcelona commissioned a French artist to come and do a mural kind of on the wall that the fountains were on. And the guy comes in, I need to look up his name to know what it is, but he comes in, he does these pigeons. There's also a lot of pigeons in Barcelona, and I'm guessing in France, because he's a French dude.
There's a lot of New York.
And a lot of New York, exactly. So he comes in, and there's 3 fountains, and he does a pigeon on one, a pigeon on another, and then on the third one, below it, he does like a dead pigeon on his back. And it was, I don't know, it's just like his thing that he wanted to do. Well, the city of Barcelona, despite the fact that they paid for the art, decided that they didn't like the idea of a painting of a dead pigeon. And so they came and they painted over the dead pigeon. And so it was like these 3 fountains with only 2 pigeons on it. And when that happened, a bunch of other artists were like, that's messed up. Like, it's freedom of speech kind of thing. Like, you gotta like let him express himself. And so what would happen is different artists from all over the world would fly to Barcelona just to paint their own version of a bird. And so somebody came from like Brazil and painted like this beautiful giant parrot. And then like 2 days later, the city paints over it. And then another artist comes from some other part of the world and paints their own like country's bird or whatever. It became this like thing. And the city would always just paint over it immediately because, like I said, the city actually doesn't allow for graffiti. And so on any public wall, anytime graffiti goes up, they have like a whole full-time crew of city staff that will go through and just like paint over it like the typical like brown. Anyways, I learned about this and I'm like, man, before I leave Barcelona, I got to hit the fountain. And I was stewing on it for so long. I'm like, man, I got to do something cool. It's got to be sick. And so what I did was I basically, and also I think it was around the time that like Banksy had something very popular. Obviously he's a super popular artist, but he was up in the news. Like people were talking about him, whether it was like a Sotheby's auction that something sold for a lot or whatever it was. And so I was like, all right, I have an idea. Cause again, like marketer's mindset, I'm always thinking of like marketing first, which has been beneficial to me for my art career. And so I end up drawing a cat or doing a stencil of a cat instead of a bird. And the cat, as if it had eaten the third bird, and he's looking over at the other birds like he's about to eat them too. So I did this cat, but I specifically tried to do it as close as I could to like, if Banksy was going to do a cat, what would it look like? And so I tried to do it like that. And then I was going by the name Stoke at the time, because I also like, before that, I lived in LA and I surfed a lot, and I think the word Stoke is awesome. So like, anyways, I went by the word Stoke, or the handle or name, alias. And so I made a Stoke kind of stencil, but I made it in the same type of font as Banksy used. So like it looked like, I tried to make it as if Banksy could have shown up and done it, and who knows. And literally like the city freaked the fuck out. And it was like, it was a huge deal. And the newspaper covered it. They're like, mystery artist, does the fountain, and it's a cat, and it's this Stoke, but is it Stoke or is it not? And so I have this, like, I literally have it's the front page of the Barcelona newspaper. I have it in my house in California, and it's like, it's a giant piece of the art, and then it's like, I don't know what it says, but it's all in Spanish. It's like, cuidado, don't paint over this. This might be Banksy. And, which was insane. And then like the city kept it up for like, I think it was 3 or 4 months. And so I did that right before I left. And the woman actually, the lady who ran the street art walking tour, she's the one that sent me the newspaper, because it actually came out after I had left. I did it right at the very end. I was like, this is my last huzzah. And she kept texting me like on WhatsApp. She'd be like, I can't believe it. The city still hasn't painted over your thing. Nobody knows what to do about it. It's like, it's insane. And I'm like, that's so fucking cool. So that was like super exciting. But then I get back to the US, and my family lives just north of San Francisco. And so I went out like one night with another artist friend of mine in Unity. And I was like, yo, man, I just got back from Barcelona. He was like a graffiti artist. I was like, I want to go hit San Francisco. Let's go, make a splash. And he's like, all right, I'm going to take you out. And so we go out and we painted some things. It's actually funny. I did like, I made a stencil of a Ninja Turtle, like popping out of a manhole cover. And then I painted it like on manhole cover. So it like looked like they were like sliding it over, like popping out, because I love Ninja Turtles, which by the way, there's like, I have Ninja Turtles Topps cards like right here.
Oh wow.
That's cool.
So I did like one day of street art, and I probably put up like 7 or 8 pieces, because again, it's like super fast with a stencil. And then I get home, and I don't even remember, like I think I posted some stuff on Instagram, and then another friend of mine who's not in the art world is like, yo, you should take those posts down. And I'm like, why? It's fucking awesome. And they're like, because doing graffiti in San Francisco is a felony and you could literally go to jail. And I'm like, oh shit. And so I take the post down. But fortunately that was also under the alias Stoke. And so I had posted it on my Blake Instagram, but like, anyways, I took it down immediately. And then I was like, okay, well, I don't want to go to jail, and also I want to be able to sell my art. So I should just do the same type of kind of street art and graffiti, but I'm gonna do it on canvas and I'm gonna sell it. And then that's what I like set out to do, and kind of that's what's led me to where I'm at now.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
awesome.
insane.
So you seem to have like this, because I watched the 90 Days to MoMA, and the end of that, you guys had that flash mob.
Yep.
And that this whole thing now kind of makes sense to me why you agreed to do that, because I guess you've been sort of inclined towards, pushed towards that thing where it's, not a traditional path.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that watching that was awesome. I watched through that entire thing in two times speed, by the way, because it's quite long.
Dude, I literally I watched the Flash Mob episode last night.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched it probably a half a dozen times since it happened,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also been years since it happened. And
Yeah.
I don't know, man, I just got in the zone last night. I was like, man, I want to see some of my old stuff. And it's so cool watching those old videos, because it's I feel like I haven't changed. I can predict what I'm going to say, even though I don't remember it. I'm somebody asked me something ridiculous and I'm going to be like, I'm going to say hell yes. And then, hell yes. It's it's just so funny that I feel like I'm so predictable.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that even back when I started painting full time, I was still just the same crazy dude.
Yeah. So going through that whole experience of getting into MoMA, obviously you weren't able to do it in that time frame, and not the traditional way. But how did you feel throughout the process? Did you feel like the process was more helpful towards launching your career, as opposed to getting to the end where where the series kind of picked up? What part of that was more, you think, beneficial to you?
I think that the most representative part and the most important part about that whole series is that the most important thing is not necessarily the result. It's just fucking trying.
Right.
Going and doing something and putting yourself out there. And so, sure, I didn't get into MoMA in an official capacity, but I was swinging for the fences.
Yeah.
I wasn't afraid to walk into MoMA with my art as a brand new artist and be like, yo, do you want this? Or, go to we crashed a party of the Gagosian Gallery, which is some of the biggest artists in the world. And I'm just going up to up to the dude. And I'm like, what's up, man? I'm Blake James. You're going to want to know me. And it's part of it might come off as cocky or douchey or gimmicky. I think at the time, part of the reason that it didn't maybe get, I believe, the attention that that eventually will get is because I'm the dude that has done crazy shit throughout my whole life. When I first moved to Arizona and took that job, I had this crazy Tinder experiment where I photoshopped my Tinder profile and I made it look like I was endorsed by Tinder. And then I wrote a blog article about it. And then I started teaching dudes, here's how to crush on Tinder. And I wrote a book called Tinder Hacks that did very well. And so
we watched that.
It's awesome. But to me, I think that was art, because it's pushing boundaries. It's doing something that nobody else is doing, and it's making people think. To me, that was kind of art. But to other people that might have seen the Tinder Hacks thing, and they see other kind of crazy marketing campaigns I might have done for some clients, they see me do 90 Days to MoMA, and they're like, all right, this is a flash in the pan. This guy's going to try to be an artist for 90 days, see if he can do it. If he doesn't, he's going to move on to the next thing. What they didn't understand is that art is that's my jam. And as soon as I started and felt that every single day, waking up and being excited, I'm never going to go back.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, I will take I have taken side hustle consulting jobs to keep my art studio afloat, or whatever I got to do. I will do whatever it takes to continue making art my main hustle. But the 90 Days to MoMA thing was not just a gimmick just to see if I could become an artist just for fun. It was nah, man, art's what I want to do. Let's see if this crazy idea works. And so I actually think there will be a point sometime in the future where people in a massive scale will discover 90 Days to MoMA, and they're going to go back and watch it and be like, holy shit, this was Blake. This is literally the moment that Blake decided to become an artist. This is the first project he did. This was ahead of its time. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's honestly what I believe. And especially after last night, I was watching a bunch of episodes and I'm like, holy shit, this is so underappreciated for how cool and how much of a risk it was at the time. And so like just seeing the fact that like even from the beginning, I'm just like swinging for the fences.
Yeah.
I mean, what's completely underappreciated too is I've redone our like how we do our Twitter completely off of your 3 episodes on how to do Twitter.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, no, and it was I wanted to thank you for that because it's completely changed how we're thinking about Twitter and like especially how I was doing it all backwards and wrong. But I want to get into the hobby. I know you PC Buster Posey and Miles Sanders. Is there anybody else you're PCing at the moment?
Well, yeah. So Mark McGuire is my biggest PC for sure.
You just made a trade for him.
Yeah.
I'm really good friends with John.
Nice. I mean, I honestly, dude, I made probably 5 trades for him today. I'm people all the time, and people know that I collect too. And if they're excited to get my art, and I'm excited to get any Mark McGuire card, like I'll make that trade every time if I can swing it. Yeah. So Mark McGuire is like my OG. Like that's why I was wearing the St. Louis hat earlier. I've got the A's cap over there up on my shelf. These are all like signed PSA rookies. It's nice. The PC is dope.
Yeah.
Buster is a little bit newer. When I moved back, so when I started my art career, came back from Barcelona, I moved back from Arizona back to California with my parents. My parents, again, super creative and awesome and like very encouraging for me to follow my dreams. And so I moved in with them. They have this gorgeous 2-acre property. It's my family's property. My grandparents bought it a long time ago. And there's this old barn, and I set up a studio there. And that was the time when like the Giants were kind of having their every other year, every
run.
year they were winning a World Series. And so I was going to a lot of games, and I just think that Buster Posey is just such a beast. And so it wasn't even until this Topps 2020 project got me back into the hobby and got me collecting again that I wanted to PC a current baseball player that I felt like I had an attachment to. And Buster was the first one. I'm like, man, he's killing it. Like through all those World Series, like I have like this, I don't know, where an MVP, it's just, he's a beast. So Buster Posey and Mark McGuire, those are kind of the top 2 for baseball. For football, Miles Sanders 1, and then Josh Jacobs from the Raiders is the second one. The reason why I collected both those guys is because before I did Topps 2020, my niche, and there was a lot between Barcelona and becoming into this niche, but my niche had been pro athlete portraits, where I was painting portraits for the athletes themselves. And so every time there's a new draft class, there is a giant opportunity for me to outreach and like tell people, hey, welcome to the NFL. By the way, I'm the dude to go to if you need a painting. I've painted, Drew Brees, Antonio Brown, whatever, Joe Montana. Like I name off like the studs that I've painted. And so both Miles and Josh, independently of each other, were super receptive, and they're like, oh my God, your art's tight. All right, as soon as I get my first check, I'm coming to you. And sure enough, like, they went through training camp, they made the roster, they're starting playing, and I'm like, hey man, great game today. You deserve more touches. You're way better than so-and-so, or whatever. Like I'm watching them, I'm befriending them, not just befriending, becoming friends with them. And so both of those dudes were like so loyal all season, where like, I think that Miles bought 4 or 5 paintings and Josh bought 3. And to me, like, it's a eat what you kill type of business. If I'm doing just the painting side, I have to go out and I have to sell a painting if I'm going to pay my rent. And if I have to sell one painting and then to one person, and then convince another person to buy their first painting, and then another person to buy their first painting, that's difficult. If I get a client that buys a painting and then I come back to them 2 or 3 months later, or after they have an amazing game, or they score their first touchdown, and I'm like, hey, congratulations on your first touchdown. I found this dope photo online. By the way, if you want a painting of it, I'll hook you up. I'll give you a good deal. So these dudes were like just the most loyal guys. Like I've met so many amazing people in the NFL, painted for 350 to 400 of them. But like Miles and Josh Jacobs are special, and they've like supported me and believe in me. And so now, like, I feel like I owe it to them to just, I'm diehards for both those dudes. I think they're going to have long, great careers.
Oh, they're both very talented.
Yeah. And then in basketball, I collect John Morant. And I know, like, I've actually painted for Zion before when he was at Duke. I have a Duke painted basketball right up there that I did with them, which is super cool. But I just feel like, I don't know, man. I like to root for the underdog. And I mean, Ja could arguably be better than Zion in the long scheme of things. Who knows? But like, Zion is getting all the hype. And I'd rather collect Ja. And, you know, I have some Zions, but in terms of basketball, that's who I'm PC. So that's it. Those are all the PCs. It's kind of a lot, but it's fun. Keeps it interesting.
No, definitely. Are you well, I mean, you're probably gonna say Topps, but are you a Topps or Panini guy when it comes to your products? Like if you're collecting
Honestly,
baseball, are you going with
No, I understand. So it's kind of like, I'll put it in perspective. I used to be just a 49ers guy.
okay.
I didn't like any other football team. Then I started painting for football players. I painted C.J. Anderson first, and he also is one of my best friends in the football world. Amazing dude. He was in Denver at the time, killing it with the Broncos. So I kind of became a Broncos fan. And then he got traded to the Panthers, and I was like, all right, fuck it, I'm a Panthers fan. And then he got traded to the Raiders, like, I don't know if it was the Raiders, someone for just a second. Oh, the Rams. Actually, he killed it with the Rams
Right.
for the season, for the playoffs. I was like, all right, fuck it, I'm a Rams fan. And then I realized, I'm like, you know what? I'm a fucking C.J. Anderson fan. I don't care where he goes. I'm going to root for that team. And so, and that's happened. Like I said, that guy was my first person I ever painted in the NFL. I've now painted somewhere between 350 and 400 players. I'm a person fan. And so I literally have people on every single team in the NFL that I'm like, if you're like, oh, you know, do you like the Ravens? I'm like, yeah, Justin Tucker's tight. Oh, do you like this person? Oh, this person's tight. And
All
so
about that team.
yeah, okay, Packers, sure. So let's see, Geronimo Allison, Raven Green, Kev, what's the safety? Kevin King.
Okay, Kelvin King.
I'm just naming all the Packers naming all the Packers that I painted.
That's awesome.
So like that's an example. Like you could name a team. I'm like, oh yeah, Kevin King, super tight. That dude bought 2 paintings: a Nipsey Hussle and a painting of himself. Raven Green, painting of himself. Geronimo Allison, painting of himself. So I love the Packers for that reason. So I kind of look at that as like the Panini Topps conversation right now. Topps is giving me this amazing opportunity, and I love the people at Topps. Like the people that I've worked with are fucking dope. So I'm a Topps fan if I had to choose right now. But if Jeff Heckman, who runs Project 2020 at Topps, for whatever reason decided to leave and go to Panini, I'd be like, I'm a Panini guy because it's not about Topps and Panini. It's about Jeff.
Right.
And so, you know, for that reason, I would have to answer Topps, but not because I have anything against Panini. It's just because I don't know the people there yet. And I do plan on meeting the people there and hopefully working with them, because I would love to do the type of things I'm doing for Project 2020 for other sports. It would blow the lid off this whole thing.
It'd be dope.
Yeah.
It'd be so sick. How do you feel about the other artists that have came out with Project 2020 cards? Who's your favorite?
Oh man, that's tough, man. So Gregory Siff, I've idolized for years, long before Project 2020. I just love his work. I love, like, he'd always seemed like a cool dude that I could just chill with and either paint in the studio or go get a beer with or talk life or give book recommendations. He just seemed like a good dude. And so if I have to pick a favorite, it's got to be Greg, because I have this history, and this Project 2020 brought us together where it actually connected us. And now, like, you know, we're good friends. We text all the time. Like today he had a skateboard release on 1X Run. Shout out 1xrun.com. Go buy Gregory Siff's skateboard deck. Yes, the first ad that I'm dropping in the show is Greg's work. It's so fire. And like, I mean, he's established in the game. You look at, like, he's along tons of amazing artists are doing this 1X Run skateboard drop, and you look at all the prices. Greg's decks are the most expensive because he's like he's super, super accomplished. But I had to go out and support the homie. I bought one of his decks. A couple other artists that I follow, I bought their decks too. So Greg's my favorite in the project, but also through the project. Like I've connected with Ben Baller, who I think is an awesome dude. F. Dot is an amazing dude. Tomorrow on my stream, I'm having JK5, Joseph come on, which I'm very excited about. That'll be the first time we've talked on the phone, but we haven't had an interview together. Sophia Chang is super tight. She came on one of the interviews. Tyson Beck, he's amazing, and he's worked with Topps for forever. I think he's like insanely talented, especially when it comes to like the card world. He's just like, he gets it because he's worked with Topps for so long. And then there's a ton of artists in the project that I love their work. I buy every single card in Project 2020. I'm collecting the entire set. I would love to eventually have conversations with every single artist. But yeah, those are a few of my favorite things. So
That's
far.
amazing. Do you have any collabs that you're in the work with for another 2020 like you did with Ben Baller?
Yeah, so I don't know that we're gonna do another collab within 2020 like as a card, but F. Dot and I have talked about doing a collaboration because he actually is in Brooklyn. I'm in Long Island City, so we're only like 15 minutes away from each other. And so probably early August, we're gonna have F. Dot will come here to my studio. We're gonna paint something together, and then he's also got his studio in Brooklyn, which I would like to go visit too. So I think we'd probably do something where it would be like a limited edition print series, and that's great. Like Topps 2020 has brought us this platform and increased our visibility, and now we have all these fans. But like, if I go and push people to buy my Ichiro card, which I do hope they buy, like it's available on Topps right now. Topps gets very, very, very high. Like they get almost all that money, right? I do get a small royalty, and I'm not complaining at all. It's very generous to give me this opportunity and this platform. But if I want to go and work with F. Dot, like to go and work on a card doesn't make that much sense, because we're at a point now where we can do something where we don't have to like worry about print runs or ship times or anything, all the complications that come with the Topps thing. We have access to the audience, and we can just make something that we want. And it doesn't even have to be baseball. It could be a companion baseball thing, but it also could be anything, you know, it could be anything that we want. And so I think that we'll do a collaboration, but it'll be something outside of 2020.
And why'd you choose sports stars to paint, like, or like more pop culture?
Sports stars chose me. I know that sounds cheesy, but I'll tell you the story. So you guys know I worked in digital marketing. That was my world. I knew people at marketing agencies and PR firms and tech companies. That was the people that was my circle. So when I very first started painting, I knew with my marketer kind of mindset, okay, I have to find a niche. I can't just paint to paint. I can't just paint for everyone. I have to paint for a very specific group of people who believe a certain thing, believe a certain thing. Like I had like my customer avatar. And so, mind you, I still do just paint to paint for myself. I just don't sell that work. I do that for like my own self. So from the business side, I had to have a niche. And so I first started saying, all right, I make art for offices. And so I was focused on the marketing agency, the PR firm, or the tech company. It's primarily a company that had finished maybe raising their Series A round. They were moving out of a co-working space. They're getting their very first office space, and they want to have some cool culture, and they want to have some cool looking pop art on the walls. I'm your dude. So I will paint you the dopest Gary Vaynerchuk portrait, or the sickest, Steve Jobs, or the sickest motivational quote. Like that was my shtick. And it worked really well because the community that I was in already knew and trusted me, and I was willing to put in the work to make my art cool enough. And so like that was what I was doing. And so I did that for a while, and I was in Las Vegas in let's see here, this was 2017, and I was delivering art to a client, had finished the delivery, and a friend invited me to an Imagine Dragons concert at one of the big Vegas stadiums. So I went to the concert. We were up in this like kind of little private-ish area, and it was nice. Like the concert was loud, but like we were in a kind of private area where we could have conversations. I was like, I want to introduce you to, and this is the friend that invited me to the concert. Said, hey, I want to introduce you to my friend Jared. Jared used to play professional football. And so that's awesome. Like, I was a 49ers fan at the time. I was like, oh, I like the 49ers. She's like, no, he played for the Saints. I'm like, all right, I don't know, but we'll see if he's okay. So I go up, I meet this dude, Jared Faison. why I said Jason. I was combining the last names. Jared Faison. We both go, we're like, oh, cool, great to meet you. Hey, you need a drink? Yeah, me too. Okay, let's go get a bar. And like bartender comes up and like at the exact same time, we're like, I'll take an old fashioned. And I love old fashions. I love whiskey. We actually have a little, I'm pretty true to Jameson because of my last name.
I was just going to say, what is your favorite whiskey real quick? Before I got sick, I was a bartender, so.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I had a stint of bartending in college, and I loved it. It was awesome.
Yeah,
I think it's actually like, it's such a great job because it makes you a chameleon. You have to be able to talk to everyone, make friends with everyone, deal with high stress situations, like multitask. It really it's a very underrated position, I think, to have on your resume. I digress.
It's crazy.
Jared and I get up to the bar. Both order the exact same drink at the exact same time. We kind of look at each other. We're like, tight. And so we start talking. He's like, oh, what do you do? And he said, oh, I manage NFL players. I used to play. I played for the Saints. He played for some other teams as well. He played for the Gators. I'm also a Gators fan in Florida. And so, we hit it off. He's like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I'm a painter. He's like, oh, what do you paint? And I started showing him the portraits, the Steve Jobs, the Gary Vaynerchuks, the motivational quotes, all the stuff. I was like, and I had, I was confident. I'd worked with cool companies. Like I was in Las Vegas to deliver art. I was a cool, it's not like it's nothing wrong with starving artists, but at the time, it's not like I wasn't like struggling, but I wasn't like like I was 30 years old and I was living with my parents, but I was selling some art, maybe 31 at the time, starting to sell some art and get like established myself. He's like, bro, this is sick. I was like, thanks, man. People tell me that every so often. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, thank you. You like my art. He's like, no, seriously. You shouldn't do offices. I'm like, oh yeah, what should I do? He's like, you should do athletes. And I'm like, sure. He's like, because if an athlete posts a picture of your painting, they're competitive and the teammate is going to want a bigger one. And I'm like, well, yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. I mean, I would paint athletes. He's like, well, I represent athletes. I'm like, okay, cool. He's like, all right, here's the deal. I want you to paint 3 of my clients for free. And he told me, he's like, Jaleel Adai, who played for the Chargers at the time, Corey Liggett, I don't know how to say it, who also played for the Chargers at the time, and CJ Anderson, Broncos. Those were his 3 top clients at the time. He had a few others, but he wanted to he wanted to look cool to his clients and get them a cool painting. He's like, all right, here's the deal. You paint them for free. I'm going to make them promote you like crazy on social media. I'll get you to you can deliver them in person. I'll set you up with a meeting time so you can deliver the painting, and that way you can get a photo with them holding the painting and you can get a little bit of credibility, and then like they're just going to promote it. Like their teammates are going to see it. They're going to buy one. And I was like, all right. Like I said, like I'm always like up for crazy ideas. I'm like, hell yes, let's do that. And so, and who knows, like we were, by that time, maybe 2 or 3 old fashions deep that he might have thought this dude's never going to, that's never going to pan out. But next morning up at the crack of dawn, I'm like, all right, bro, what picture of CJ Anderson do you want me to paint? All right, which picture of Jaleel? Okay, this picture would be cooler than this. So like I was just like on it and going for it. And I painted those, and literally like it was like exactly like he said. He set up the meetings. I met CJ Anderson. I gave him the painting. He loved it. And literally like the next day, CJ Anderson bought a very expensive painting. He's like, all right, that's tight. I want to buy a bigger one. And he bought a bigger one of himself, paying me full retail price. And at the time, I'm like, oh crap, that worked really well. And then I go and met Jaleel, and Jaleel liked it. And he didn't buy another one immediately. He has actually bought multiple since. Also great dude. But he sends me a screenshot because he posted on Instagram. He sends me a screenshot from Antonio Brown, and Antonio Brown's like, yo, man, that's lit. Where do I get that? And Jaleel's like, yo, you want me to connect you with AB? I'm like, yep. And so like I did Antonio Brown like next, which was crazy.
Oh, whoa.
So that was a paid piece. And then I have like Corey Liggett, who it took a little bit longer just to coordinate meeting up with him, but met up with him, posted it. And then Nick Novak, who was the kicker of the Chargers at the time. He saw it and was like, yo, connect me with Blake. And so Corey's like, hey, Blake, meet Nick. Like, you guys work it out. And so, like, I basically did 3 paintings for free, sold 3 paintings, and was like, holy shit, Jared was completely right. This is the move. And so I literally, like, on LinkedIn, if you look at my LinkedIn now, it says the premier artists for professional athlete portraits or something like that. You know, I'm like hyping myself up for that. It was before that it said like the go-to guy for office art or dope office art or something like that. Literally it was like that night I got those, like, did 3 for free, got 3 sales. I'm like, fuck this, I'm changing my LinkedIn. I'm like, I'm the athlete portrait guy. And I changed everything about my business overnight because of this dude, Jared. And I'm like forever grateful. And it's so cool because like Jared and his fiance Muffy are like really good friends now. And like anytime they need like an anniversary gift, they both like separately and secretly hit me up. Like Jared will be like, hey man, I really want to get something special for Muffy for, for Valentine's Day. Can you hook me up with a sick price on a painting? I'm like, absolutely, of course. And like those dudes, both of them have free paintings for life, literally for life. And so I'm like, yeah, of course, I got you. So I'll make a painting. And then like a couple weeks later, like Muffy will hit me up and be like, hey, Jared's birthday's coming up. Let me get a sick paint. Like they love it so much. And like they made it all happen. And so that's how I ended up in sports. Shout out Jared.
Awesome story. So yeah, so once you've talked about like being able to change and adapt really quickly, right? And it looks like even from the beginning, like as I watch stuff and see you evolving, but your art seems to have similar themes, right? But you've also talked about like, you didn't go to art school and you feel like if you had, then you would have been a more complete artist. But with Project 2020, with all this other stuff, these artist portraits going up, do you still feel that way?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't change a thing. I think that the mindset that I've kind of grown from the marketing experience and just from all these like wild kind of crazy experiences is way more valuable than if I can paint a photorealistic oil painting of a person. I think that the art is important. It's good to have art that you care about, that I care about. It's important to me that like I don't put anything out that I don't love myself. Mm-hmm. Well, that's not true. Sometimes I put something out and say, hey guys, I tried something new and I don't love it, but this is what I made. I think that the marketing mindset and just like even like the entrepreneurial side of like I don't care. Like I had a job in college where I was doing house painting and I had to knock on doors and ask people, knock, knock, knock. Hey, would you like your house painted? No? Okay. Slam door in face, slam door in face, slam door in face. Like I'm like so numb is not even the right word. I'm just like, I'm so unfazed by rejection, which I think is very, very important as an artist because we do deal with rejection a lot. That like I learned from that kind of project of like, it's not about like getting no's, it's how many no's it takes to get to a yes. And so as soon as I'm like, I figured it out when I did the house painting thing, I'm like, oh shit, every 30 doors I knock on average, I get a yes. And so I'd like be literally like running from door to door, knock, knock, knock. You want a house painting? No? Okay, no problem. 29 to go. Okay, bye. And then I'd be like on to the next. So I think that like those type of things, like, studying economics and then doing that kind of business internship in college, getting in digital marketing and learning how to market on Twitter or Facebook, some products that I may or not like think are super awesome, but still knowing how to position it. That's more valuable to me than the technical painting knowledge. And now I'm at a point where like, I've found my style, I think, for now, could always evolve and change, but like I feel like I can recognize my work out of a crowd and also other people can too that didn't make it. They're like, that one's the Blake Jamieson, which is like a really cool spot to be at. And so, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't change a thing, man.
Okay. So kind of going through or not through, but off of that, you mentioned that like, you're not, you think this whole creative process that you have is more important than, being able to sit there and draw a photorealistic thing. And I had a question about that. So you had your interview about Greg Kreindler. Great interview, by the way. I watched that. And it must have been awesome for you to, talk to him,
So dope.
And he seemed like a super cool dude. Like he was just chilling there, like nothing set up, like just in a phone. And super humble as well. Like, every time he said he was your idol, like he was like, oh yeah, cool. And I'm watching him like, oh wow, really cool. But anyway, so I was reading the comments on that, and there was somebody that asked, and I wanted to ask you this: they basically, the question was, it wasn't in like a disrespectful way, but they said like, you know, you have your creative process, like you said, you have that specific style that you've developed, and the question was like, do you think that like something like pure realism is like a cop out from real art? Like, you know, it's basically you're drawing something exactly like it is. So I don't know, you know, I'm not an artist, I can't say that it's a cop out, but how do you feel about that?
I'll answer your question with a question.
Okay.
You look at a ton of paintings.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is Greg. You think you could pick it out? Because I know I can.
No, definitely not.
Definitely could. I think that as much as Greg does the photorealistic stuff, still got his style.
Yeah.
And there, honestly, there's not a lot of people that do. And also, like, he was smart about the niche. Like, he's doing baseball, and even within that, he's doing like the Negro League.
His
Like,
stuff is amazing.
Yeah.
he's killing it. So,
Yeah.
like, I don't think photorealism, oil painting or whatever, is a cop out at all. I think it is a fine art. Like, that's like the old masters. You know, you look at
Right.
like the OGs. That's what they aspired to be able to do, is to like paint what you see.
Yeah.
And actually paint what you see, not what like you think you see. And so, like, I think that is not a cop out at all. I think it's an insanely tedious and difficult task to master. I also think that because he can do that, he could do anything. Like, I can paint things only so realistic. I can paint them crazy abstract and just do whatever. But like, I can only dial it in like so much. If I
Right.
literally put that down, it doesn't matter how much time you give me. I couldn't do what Greg does.
Yeah.
He could probably do what I do with enough time. But you couldn't give me enough time to do what he does. So I think that that's like an incredible skill to have. It's just, you know, for me, I wanted a different direction. Plus, I don't like that dude went to art school, and he probably did that. I didn't do that. So like, I'm not fooling myself. I'm not going to say, okay, I'm going to go, you know, whatever. I'm not going to go try and be a professional baseball player right now. I'm 35 years old and probably 25 pounds overweight, and you know, whatever. I like my Jameson. So, yeah, I mean, I think that I don't think it's a cop out at all. I think it's an insanely good skill set. I mean, it's like, okay, think about this. Another question. If that were the case, why would photography even be an art? If photorealistic painting was such a cop out, photography wouldn't even be an art, because like, oh yeah, anybody could take that photo. Yeah, of course anybody could take that photo. But did they have the right settings? Did they take it from the right angle at the right time of day with the person capturing the exact fucking moment? Like, by that same argument, photography would just be like a pastime that everyone could do exactly equally the same. And that is just absolutely false.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at taking pictures. No, exactly, 100% right. What, like, going kind of off because that's how my brain works. What's your favorite Project 2020 card you've done? Is it the Maguire, the Ichiro, the Nolan Ryan, the Jackie Robinson?
Yeah, I mean, I gotta stick with Maguire because he's my boy. That card meant so much to me. I mean, it was like an emotional card to make because, you know, while making it and stuff, my dad was sending me stories about like growing up and like stories from even when I was too young to remember about like all of our kind of family history and relationship with Mark Maguire, which is just, there's nothing that's going to compare to it. And so I will not be able to make a card that I like more than that Mark Maguire card, but I will be damn sure that I'm trying to make every single card that I make to be my second favorite card. And I can tell you the Ichiro card that is out right now is definitely my second favorite card. I think the process is getting dialed in. The cards are looking sharp. The community is engaged. You know, I had several variations and I painted those live and I let the community kind of help decide which one would become the card. Tony on the team helped me do the dual flag background, which I thought was brilliant. Eric, those back pages on YouTube helped me change the lettering size with the Ichiro Suzuki to make Ichiro bigger and Suzuki smaller, versus if you look at the original card, it's swapped. And so like it's becoming this kind of communal process that's really getting dialed in. And so I think that card is amazing. And I also think that my next card, which is going to be Ted Williams, is going to be even better.
Oh, that's awesome. When are you gonna do junior? Do you know yet?
Uh, no. So Ken Griffey. Yes,
Yeah.
that is my next one after Ted. So we have Ted Williams will be early August. I believe it's August 5th, and then Ken Griffey Jr. is probably around August 20th. I don't know the exact launch date, but we're looking at about a month from now. My Ken Griffey's going to come out, and that one is actually very exciting. I'm just super excited about that card.
It's my favorite player of all time.
I can't do any spoilers because I need to be the first artist to do the idea that I'm doing, and it's gonna be fucking dope. Everyone's gonna.
All right, you can tell us after we stop recording.
Freak out. I will tell you after, but people are gonna.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Also, I want to take a moment just to say how awesome I've seen your dad do all the stuff. Like he's always so engaging and like
Yes.
on the YouTube streams. Like I know
Just
he
think of that.
talked about like him doing your website and also that little pan that you had across his garage with all the art that he had. Awesome, so cool.
Dude, you have no idea. Yeah, our house in California. I say our house, his house, even my mom's house. It's like a museum, man. He's an art collector. He was a photographer. I feel like it's crazy because he was so into the arts, performing arts and photography, and met my mom and had me. And it was kind of when the internet bubble was like, or internet was like starting to become like a big thing. And similar, I see like similarities to like, me graduating college and having digital marketing be like this emerging industry that nobody really knows what's going on, but there's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah.
I think that he kind of saw that with the internet and got into programming and kind of gave up a lot of his artistic, personal like creations, but has done well in the programming and like kind of tech side of things. And then, once he got that figured out, started just collecting art. And so like his art collection is just bananas. And so, like I said, I grew up in a creative household. Like my house looks like a museum. Like we have ridiculously cool art from artists all over the world. Although he does kind of focus on like West Indian and Caribbean art, which is a very distinct style. It's very cool. And in that niche, I mean, my dad is one of the top players in the fucking world.
Oh yeah.
Like, there are like clubs that like travel the world. It's like West Indian Art Club, and like they came to San Francisco to go to a museum and then their second stop was our house. But I mean, it's because he's so like dialed into that niche, and so I can like respect that so much of like he's crushing it in that, and has never lost that like kind of artistic eye and artistic like inspiration, which is really cool to see and like fun to share with him now.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing when you said that, Abe. I was thinking like how cool it was when I'm watching your videos, and I see you going like, "Oh, hey, Dad," and I'm like looking at the comments, and I'm like, "Oh, there's his dad." I'm like, "That's awesome."
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I mean, my dad's on almost every night. My mom's on almost every night. My sister's on every night, and my sister has a couple kids that are awesome that are also like engaged, and so it's just like it's so cool that now it's like it's a family affair, man. Every night 10:23 people are tuning in and they're hanging out with the whole Jameson crew.
Why is it 10:23?
Well, a bunch of reasons. When COVID hit, there were a lot of different people that started doing live streams, DJs, artists, influencers, whatever. A lot of them were doing them during kind of the dinner and happy hour kind of evening thing. So I knew I wanted to be later to not compete, give myself a little bit better of a chance of getting seen. 23 is my favorite number. And typically in the last 5-6 years that I've been painting, the hours between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. are my most creative hours. Like I will typically spend all day long on the computer doing the marketing. Like for a long time, I was a one-man show. I'm really lucky now that I have a team that's helping run these things, but I used to have to do everything myself. So I would spend like from starting at like 10 in the morning to like 8 p.m. at night, I'd be promoting myself on social media, making conversations, watching videos, getting inspired, looking up artists, all the things that I'd like work like a desk job almost. And then at 10 p.m. roughly, so like 8 o'clock, I'd chill. I'd like kind of rest and relax, maybe eat a late dinner. And then at 10 p.m., I would go out to my studio. And again, this is my parents' house. So I would walk it's a 2-acre property. I walk up to the barn, flick on all the lights. I hear the crickets. I hear the frogs. It's like gorgeous, this rural area. And I'd be like, all right, it's go time. And I would paint from nonstop, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. every single day for 5 years. And a lot of those years, it was longer than that because I would start earlier because I didn't have so many responses to send on I didn't have as much reason to be on the computer yet. I got to dial it in. But once I kind of got it dialed in, like in the sports industry, for example, I'd spend a ton of doing outreach, like guys like Josh Jacobs or Miles Sanders. Yo, you want a painting? I'm your guy. Here's what I've done. Here's how I can help, or whatever. 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., that's my painting sweet spot. I was like, my phone, and this is the most important thing. Nobody emails me. Nobody calls my phone. And there's nothing important that's going on that I'm missing. Like there's no FOMO. And so it's like literally just like dialed in focus time, 10 p.m., 2 a.m. paint. And so I wanted to carry that over to these streams because when I started doing them, my thinking was, well, I'm going to paint as much as I can. Like I want to give them eyes into the studio. So like if my day is a bunch of kind of administrative BS during the day or the legwork, like people don't want to see me sitting in a computer just like typing like details. They want to see me doing my thing. And so like the 10 o'clock thing made sense. 23 also, the final piece was it's memorable. If I tell people 10:30, they might show up at 10:15 and be like, oh shit, what time is it? Or they might show up at 11 and be late. If I tell them 10:23, they're never fucking late.
Right.
No. And like when I'm late, because I'm late more than anyone else. It'll be 10:04, and I'll be popping on and be like, shit, I'm sorry guys, I didn't have my light set up. I didn't have this. I had to get my canvas printed. I had to get my stencil printed, whatever it was. So like memorable, favorite number, best time of creativity, and my phone doesn't ring.
That's awesome.
Why is 23 your favorite number? Is there a reason behind that? I like the little things.
Yeah. So like, I grew up idolizing Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a time when I wasn't PCing anyone but Jordan. That was a long time ago, and I wish I still had that binder. Yeah, Tony's pointing at his shirt for the Hitman. I didn't know who Don Mattingly was before this project. And that's also because I grew up an A's fan. Me and my dad has A's season tickets, and I literally grew up, my dad's like, we hate the Yankees. I'm like, yeah. And that's how when you're a kid and your dad says we hate the Yankees, you fucking hate the Yankees.
Everyone hates the Yankees.
Everyone.
I hate the Yankees.
No, I get it now. But you know what? What's cool about it all is like, just like I can evolve and grow and understand that I can have an opinion that's different than my dad's and say, you know what, Dad, I don't mind the Yankees. In fact, I kind of like them. And I live in New York now, and I've been to, before COVID, like I've been to a bunch of Yankees games, and it's super fun. But also, like, even at his age, like, he's still like, yeah, I get that. All right, cool. Yankees are cool. Because it's just a different vibe. Like,
right.
He's rooting for me, and he wants me to paint for, if I can do a painting for Derek Jeter, that's awesome. And he's going to be super excited. He'd probably be pissed if I painted for Tom Brady, because we hate the Patriots and we hate Tom Brady. But I'm also at a point in my career where I'm like, all right, well, fuck it. I'll pay. If Tom Brady calls my phone, I'm going to pick up. And also, I'm actually a fan of him more in Tampa now for whatever reason.
That's what I was just going to say. Aren't you a Tampa Bay fan as well?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. I'm a Tampa Bay because we lived in Florida for a spell. Did a bunch of spring training in Sarasota. So, yeah, like my first football game was actually a Bucks game, and it was a Bucks versus 49ers game at the Bucks Stadium. The Bucks sucked. The 49ers were good, and for whatever reason, we came rooting for the 49ers living in Florida, and the Bucks fucking rolled, which is just crazy, but that aside. Yeah, man, it's awesome, man. And it's so cool, like, getting to share it, like, with my dad that we kind of grew up. Okay, I don't think the second thing matters, but the first thing matters. I'll show you what he wrote.
No, don't do that.
No, I'm going to do it.
Motivate you. Stop cursing.
Oh, no.
No, it's fine.
I told him it's fine.
Yeah.
So Ichiro card. All right, guys, fine. Pause. Ad starts now. We are trying to promote the Ichiro card. It's live on Topps right now for not that much longer. So,
Oh shit! I need to buy mine.
Honestly, I don't know how much you keep up with like Twitter, but
better.
it's one of like from what I've seen recently, this is going to be one of the higher print runs because people have been talking about it more than the other ones. Like, you know, for the past few weeks, it's just sort of slowed down.
Totally.
But yeah, this has been going around quite a lot.
Oh,
yeah, I think there's a few things that work. I think that there's definitely been a good response to this on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
People like this card a lot, which is fantastic. Also, dropping with Ben Baller is a big deal. And I think that's one of the things that people don't necessarily understand if you look at, like, I'm a marketer at heart and a data-driven marketer at heart. When I did Tinder, I sent the same message to 100 girls, different message to 100 girls, different message to 100 girls, and I would count how many responded to each one. I was data-driven, right? So to the same token, when a card drops from Topps, Project 2020, on a Monday or Tuesday, those do better than cards that drop on a Thursday or Friday for a few reasons. All weekend long, people are waiting for the Monday drop.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the end of the week, by Friday, they're like, oh, crap, I bought so many cards. Like, I got to tighten the purse strings a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So the early in the week helps. I think that's going to be a factor. Obviously, the card, the card design, it plays a factor. The player we've seen plays a factor. Of course, like the Trouts, the Jeters, the Griffeys, those are going to sell a lot. I think Ichiro is on the upper half, at least as far as the player popularity, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, like, the thing that people don't understand is, like, the timing of who you drop with. And so I think that dropping with Ben Baller, who's a very popular artist, it's great that, like, he and I are homies. We've never had a drop before. We had the collab card that I did, which he also promoted, but that's, that one was the second top selling card of all time.
Mm-hmm.
That was also kind of the sweet spot where demand was high. Ben Baller promoting it. I was promoting it. It was Mike Trout, which is the most popular player in baseball. So it was like the perfect storm. But all that aside, with this Ichiro, I think that the good timing of the drop, the Twitter has been very receptive to the design itself. Dropping with Ben Baller is just a huge honor, and I'm very excited to be doing it. So I do think that the print run is going to be high, but at the same time, I don't really care. Like, I do care financially. I have a stake in it, but, like, I don't want to convince people that don't want my card to buy my card.
Right.
I just, whoever wants to buy my card and that's let it live, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think, like, and that's interesting because that's kind of changed at the beginning of this project. I was like, I want the highest print runs. I want this. And when it comes to the end, I'm a competitive dude. I would like to have the highest print run. Right now, I have the second highest.
Who is the highest?
Keith Shore.
Oh, okay. I was like, that's the other one I have.
And so I wanted that, and I still do want that, but I also just think that it's more about the individual quality of relationships with the community than the quantity of people who know my name. And that's going that route might make me sell a little bit less copies in the short term of one card. Or whatever of the cards, but in the long term, if I build these diehard fans that are really tapped in and just love, tuning into the live streams, engaging with me and my dad and my sister and Tony and Matt and, like, the whole team, and they feel like they're part of the family because they are, like, I'd rather get, like, $10 a month from somebody over the course of 10 years than, like, $100 from somebody once and then I never.
Right.
And that's the long-term strategy because I believe in, like, the art long-term.
Yeah.
Why is building relationships so important to you? Because, I mean, you've worked with these top athletes, and then you're talking to a little guy like us, which, like, we're so grateful for. But, like, some people in your chair sometimes don't care about the little guy or want to build the relationships.
Sure. I mean, it's exactly what I just said, man. I don't care if you're the little guys now. You could become big guys. You could be medium-sized guys, or you could be little guys. It doesn't fucking matter. Like, if if this is like so cool and memorable to like whether it's you or your fans or my fans that listen to this, like I feel like I've shared a lot of stuff that I haven't necessarily shared on other podcasts, which I think is really cool. Like I'm very excited to share this episode within my community. That like that means that's going to mean a lot to you guys versus I go like Antonio Brown. I did a painting. It was a transaction. Never talked to the dude again.
Yeah.
So
No,
what do I
definitely.
want? That one, like, you know, a couple $1,000s once? Or do I want like two dope dudes just like being like, man, that episode with Blake is like sick. And like you guys are referring back to this, whether you're talking about it in future episodes, you're sending it to your friends and family. Like, hopefully my career continues to go well and I become, I don't know, whatever, like something. And then you're like, I talked to Blake when he did his first Tops project. Now he's on his 10th. Like, that's fucking cool as shit. And to me, like the long-term value, that's so much more than like Antonio Brown buying a painting one time.
Awesome.
By the way, he got 2 paintings, but still, all that aside, like it just.
Why are you a fanny pack guy? Because I'm a fanny pack guy. I mean, I take this thing everywhere. It's
it's not even. Yeah. I'm having to grab the fanny pack. This is not the one we should grab the ones we sold, but that's okay. You don't have to get it. It's okay. Don't worry about it. It's not even like, I mean, first of all, fanny packs are extremely convenient.
it's they are.
It's like, I mean, sitting on a wallet sucks, especially because like I have this metal. Let's see, where is it? I got, you get those Instagram ads to be like the most efficient wallet ever.
I have that.
Ridge wallet, right?
Yeah, I have
It's
that.
cool. It's cool. But like practically, like to sit on, not comfortable.
Yeah.
Shitty to sit on. And so the fanny pack just makes sense, man. It's like, it's just dope. And also like, I just like doing weird shit. Like, as you guys are seeing, like, I'm always trying weird stuff. And so like, do I want to sell t-shirts or do I want to sell, something like a fanny pack? I think, and like, it's so like recognizable. Like it's all ties back to like just the branding and like the recognition and just standing out. And like the crazy thing is if you try something crazy to stand out and then it doesn't work, meaning you don't stand out, that just means that nobody notices that you failed. So like literally, like by definition, by trying crazy shit, the only thing that you can do is either win or be invisible when you fail. And that's like the best position to be in like trying to like grow a business or brand.
Right.
So that just makes sense.
I mean, I love the fanny pack. I'm sad that like I couldn't get one of your fanny packs. Those are so sick. And I like how you put cards in them as well. Like always giving back. I mean, I have one of your when you've painted over the cards. It's like right in it's right in the middle of my collection. It's right by have you ever seen Matthew Lee Rosen's gum cards?
Love it. I have multiple.
Yep, I have one.
I literally in this closet in here, I can pull out Mark McGuire's, Jose Canseco's, Ken Griffey's. I love that dude. And actually, I should write a note. Maybe Matt, you can write a note. Artist interviews, the Friday night thing. Would like to get Matthew Lee Rosen on.
He's one of the people I want on too. He's a really nice dude. And then I want to say thank you for my birthday. I did this huge giveaway. You gave away an art, the Jordan poster for me. That was incredible. I just want to say thank you so much for that, man.
That's awesome that you bring that up because that is actually how me and Mitch met. He put out like a thing asking if somebody would make a poster, and I was like, oh, cool, like I can do this. And then that's how we met. And then just sort of like, we were talking about something else earlier, how like, everything comes full circle, and like here we are like having this conversation, and it's awesome.
Because he's in Chicago and I'm in Portland, so we're running a show like in completely different time zones.
You have a Jordan fanny pack and you don't.
Yeah. Hey, I spent my first 8 years in the Midwest, and then we moved out here to the Portland area, and I've been out here ever since.
Like, is that an Arnold Schwarzenegger poster behind you?
Yeah, it's Arnold. It's a huge Arnold poster, and then I got my Packer one. I got my Mariners wall like all in front of me. I tried to record there one day, but sitting there is not comfortable, so
I had my Eli Manning jersey on me.
Eli?
Yeah, big Eli fan.
I mean, I liked Eli. I liked what Eli did. I like both the Manning brothers. But I will always argue Tom Blue in the face, greatest quarterback of all time is Brett Favre.
Yeah, but what about that frozen game that Eli performed?
Wow.
Bill Burris catching everything in sight.
How old was
He got
I?
called for
That
a
was
game.
2006. I was like 13. I cried. I cried like a little baby, like a little bitch when Favre threw that interception. I'm like, really? You got to do this right now,
Yeah.
Jeez.
dude? But I just want to say thank you for coming on to our show, man.
Yeah, I got one more thing.
You got one more?
So I got a little creative over the weekend and I wanted to send you something.
Right.
So I made a little
Nice. The Jordan Fleer.
Jordan Fleer.
That's what's up, bro.
I guess I'll have Tony, whoever, send me your address and I'll sign it for you. I'll sign it for you.
Yeah. Sign it up.
So dope.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's so awesome. But yeah, Mitch, you wanna?
Yeah, close it out. Dude, thanks for coming on. This was incredible, absolutely amazing. I'm having the time of my life. And we'll want you back on again if you ever want to come back on. Just thank you, Blake, for coming in. I don't know how to finish it. I'm like fan geeking
Close it
now.
out. Can I plug a couple things?
Yeah, go for
Oh, I
it.
was gonna ask. What else are you promoting? Like before? Yeah, now you can plug it. We'll probably cut this because I'm not really.
No worries. I got you. Okay, so number one thing right now, if you're listening and it's relatively live, my Ichiro card is on Topps.com. It would be awesome if you buy it, but don't buy it if you don't want to. I don't really care.
Buy
If you
it.
like it. Check it out, see if you feel it. If you do, your support would be awesome. The other thing would be proathleteportraits.com, all spelled out, proathleteportraits.com. That is where I put out original art. We have artist autographs of previous cards. Most of those are sold out. There are a couple left right now. A couple Mike Trouts, a couple Mariano Rivera's. Soon we're going to be launching the Willie Mays autographs. And then about weekly or every other week, I launch new art on there. And then if people want to like connect with me and just like chat, I'm most active on Twitter at Blake Jameson, and that's JAMIESON. I respond to every tweet if possible, respond to all my DMs. I have an amazing team that's helping me manage that to make sure that I don't miss things, but that's the best way if people just want to like holler at me and ask me a question about pretty much anything.
That's awesome.
Perfect. Yeah, go follow Blake. I know, not everybody's super in the Topps project, but he does more than that. And, just going back and watching some of your videos, they've been like, I never expected. It was very unexpected for me because I like going back and like, diving deeper into stuff. And yeah, just go check everything out.
Yeah, and check out his Twitter if you're trying to build your Twitter. Like it is game changer for me. I have my Kingmakers list. I'm doing it all, and I think the one thing
That's awesome, man.
and then real quick because I've been wanted to ask this. Has anybody told you look like Ben Affleck?
You know what? I usually actually get Casey Affleck.
Oh, really? Okay, you look like you could be
Casey
your brother.
Affleck. And then if I take my hat off, I get Joe Rogan sometimes. Just
Oh yeah, I see that.
I see that.
I see that.
But yeah, I get Casey Affleck sometimes. Yeah, that's about it.
That's awesome. Well,
All right,
guys,
awesome.
thanks for listening. Everybody have a great one.